Hello everyone. So in this video I'm going to show you how to mount a Railblaza Starport. We're both going to do a flush mount install, so we're going to take a mount that has been installed surface mount and turn it into a flush mount. We're also going to install a surface mount from scratch in a Kevlar boat. So this is the surface mount Starport. I'm just going to remove this from the boat, show you how I had it mounted before, and then we're going to drill a hole in the boat and turn this into a flush mount install. Now, to flush mount one of these Starports, you need to drill a 32mm hole in the boat, which is the size you need to fit the centre part of the Starport in. Generally you want to drill this first and then use the Starport itself as a guide to drill your two holes for your mounting hardware to make sure those holes end up in exactly the right place, which is what we're about to see. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the bottom part of the Starport back on the boat. Because I've already got those two holes there, I want the 32mm hole lined up exactly with those two. The best way to do that is to actually put that ring back on the boat and use that as a template to make sure the 32mm hole gets drilled in exactly the right place, which is what you're about to see. So now I'm just going to drill out the two screw holes that are already in the boat to the right size for the bolts to go through. And interestingly enough, the drill bit that is the perfect size for that is actually the pilot bit for the hole saw, so that's what I'm going to use. That wasn't a perfect example of how to do it, because you see I actually took a bit of a gouge out of the boat by letting the arbor drop onto the boat and take a bite out of it. So that's something to avoid if you're doing this yourself. So this is what actually goes on the underside of the boat. This is a part of the Starport which you get in the package. That's the spacer if you're installing it surface mount. And the way I install this, which is not the manufacturer's recommended way, is to put that on the underside of the hole with the bolts facing up, and that gives you a very large ring which clamps onto the boat and distributes the force of the Starport over quite a wide area. Don't forget the little rubber ring slash cover. And that is the finished project. One Railblaza Starport flush mounted to the boat, ready to go. So this is what it looks like inside the boat as the finished product, and that's what it looks like on the surface. You may want to trim those bolts down if you feel it's necessary. I don't. I've never found them to be a problem. So this is another example of a flush mount Starport. This has been installed using the same method in the cover for the rear hatch of my Tasman Express. You can do this with a regular hatch cover, but this particular cover was a custom order for me made by Max Grant of QK, and it's got a layer of carbon Kevlar mat in addition to the fiberglass that these are usually made of to give it the extra strength specifically for having a Starport mounted in the centre like that. The key reason for installing a Starport in this point is because I can reach from the seat while I'm in the cockpit. I can reach back and I can reach that Starport and I can adjust whatever accessories there. So for example, I can take my light down, turn the light on, put the light back in place. Or if there's a camera mounted back there, I can swing the arm around so that I can reach the camera, turn it on or off, whatever I want to do, and swing it back into the recording position. So what you're seeing here is how Railblaza actually recommend installing one of their Starports, just using those 2 screws and washers that come in the packet. In my opinion, this isn't enough, so I'm going to change this and, in my opinion, improve it, and we're also installing a second Starport right next to the first one. So I've just finished adding in 2 large washers underneath that first Starport in order to reinforce it, give it some extra strength. And now I'm about to begin installing a second Starport right next to the existing one for a second accessory on the deck. So I'll show you how that's done. So we're using the base of the Starport as a guide, as a template, drilling through that base and into the boat to make sure those holes end up where we need them to be. So this is the hardware, the bolts that I'm using to mount the Starport. For the most part, I'm using the bolts that are included in the pack. The only thing that is not included is those 2 large washers, which I believe are called penny washers. And they are just there to spread out the area that the force exerted on that port is being exerted on, and to make it less likely to damage the boat and to tear through the deck. So that's what the finished product looks like, for the most part using the included fittings, and it's a very strong way of mounting a Starport. And this is what this looks like on the inside of the boat. You see those factory included bolts with those additional washers there to spread out the force from the Starport, make it less likely to tear through the deck. And you'll see I've also added in these tie down points and a bungee cord. This is to keep my paddle float, because I keep that on the inside the cockpit on the underside of the deck, which is out of my way, doesn't interfere with my paddling, but is within easy reach when I'm in the ocean having a swim and I need to bail out, need to do a paddle float rescue.